If you guys are part of my early crew, just put early, type early in the comments box really quickly. I want to see who's part of the early crew here. All right, cool. So we got Jason, we got Michelle. All right. In the comments box, so you'll just see, just type early if you're part of an early crew. I want to see who's here, who's on time, um, who's ready to get started. The framework that I'm going to show you is something that I've used to make millions and millions and millions of dollars. And I want to give you some background. Robert Johnson says early. I'm going to close my office door here because it's a little bit late at night. I'm doing this kind of late because my followers that are in like Australia, I know it's like 1 p.m. for you guys that are in certain parts of Australia. My followers that are out in the Gold Coast, that are out there in Sydney, you guys are always like, "Hey Ty, you do this stuff whenever you do your webinars or whenever you do your trainings. You do them either like super early Eastern time, or you do them later in the evening Eastern time, so like 7 or 9." And I wanted to kind of do something outside of our normal time zone, right? So we've got people that are watching right now from the East Coast, from the West Coast. We've got people that are in Canada, in the UK, Australia, just about everywhere. So this is pretty cool. So the framework that I'm going to give you is what I've used, like I said, to make millions and millions of dollars. If you guys can hear me, let me know if you can hear me, because I got a lot of stuff that I want to share with you. And I want to make sure that everyone can hear me. So if you can hear me, Robert Johnson, um, Michelle, Jason, okay, perfect, hear you. All right, so if you don't know me, my name is Ty Cohen. I got started online years ago. And one of the first pieces, thank you, Lou Bryant, who says I can hear as well. One of the first uh, products that I sold online was a software program called 101 Music Business Contracts. And again, if you guys can hear me, just let me know. I can hear you in the comments box. And I want to use the comments box so that we can have like a dialogue, because I don't want to just talk to you. I want you to talk back to me. And the only way that you can talk back to me is if you use that comments box, right? So I got started, and my first piece of, my first item, I want to say digital item that I sold online was a piece of software called 101 Music Business Contracts. I had started a record label. Thank you, Nan. Nan, one of my favorite people who's over, you're over in Australia, right, Nan? Let me know. So I had started a record label, and we had a little bit of success. We didn't have like major success or anything like that. So I said, man, how could I take this knowledge that I have about the music industry in regards to like grooming artists, producing artists, getting them booked for shows, getting them booked on radio stations, putting music out. And this was before the digital world that we know of right now, right? So we were putting music out on cassette, we were putting music out um, on CD, right? And we would go up to record stations in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts area, and even like parts of Maryland. We would go in. We drove down Maryland a couple of times, and I took all of that knowledge and I said, well, what can I do with this? I always had individuals who would ask me, hey Ty, how do I get agreements? How do I get contracts for my artists? How do I get a contract between me and a producer? Or how do I get a contract between me and someone that's a stylist, or me and a singer, if I'm having a singer coming in and doing a guest appearance on one of my songs, right? So that was my specialty right there. How many people have something that you're good at and that people ask you for guidance on all the time? It could be cooking, like, hey, what do you put in that recipe? It could be decorating, like, can you tell me, like, what's your flavor for decorating? How do you make stuff look so good? It could be you knowing how to dress, people ask you about that. It could be anything on the education side. Like, think about that. What's that thing that people ask you about all the time? They ask you for your guidance on. So for me, people would always ask me questions about the music business, right? So questions about the music business. And here's the thing. I didn't consider myself to be an expert, all right? Thank you, Rashawn. Rashawn up in Canada. I didn't consider myself to be an expert on the music industry, but because I was so entrenched in it and because I knew so much about it, guess what? Everyone else considered me to be the expert on. So there's these things that people will see you as the expert on, or they'll see that you're better than them on, and they'll ask you for your guidance on it. And I want you to think about that, right? So think about this one thing that people ask me, like, what's the one thing that people ask me questions on? That's the first thing, because this is a big piece to how you can take this digital world and really turn it into something that can generate you a significant amount of income. All right. And we're not talking about Kindle publishing here. We're talking about stuff outside of Kindle publishing, even though Kindle publishing is a component of it. You can publish content on Kindle, right? And many of you guys may know me as a Kindle publishing guy, but there's other businesses that I've started behind the scenes that I really haven't shared with many people. And I'm starting to get a little bit more vocal about this stuff because it gives you a different lifestyle. It gives you a really cool, hey, Denise, how are you? It gives you options. It gives you freedom and it gives you options, right? So people would ask me all the time about the music industry. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I go in and, what beat machine should we use to create beats? Where can I go in and book studio time, right? How much does studio time cost? How do I get started? How do I make connections with DJs? How do I get into radio stations? How do I contact program directors? So I would get all of these questions. And then finally, what I did was I went in and I had partnered with, I was going to Medgar Evers School of Music in Brooklyn, New York, right? So I went there for an entire summer. They had like these summer classes that you could go and take to advance your knowledge of the music industry. So I had gone there, and one of my professors at that time was an attorney. So he was an attorney, he was a music industry and entertainment attorney that was also speaking, he was teaching at the school. So I partnered with him and I took all of these. I said, hey, how much would it cost for me to have you go in and draft up 101 music business contracts, right? Let me buy the rights to use these contracts from you. So it ended up being like $2,000, right? More than I actually had at the time, more than I wanted to spend at the time. And then I went in and I outsourced the creation of putting these contracts, right? These digital contracts that were in a Microsoft Word format at the time. And I hired this software development firm out of India to go in and build up this software for me. So it was called 101 Music Business Contracts. And if you actually go in and Google 101 Music Business Contracts, you probably still can see some of the images of that software program and that product that I had created at that time. So that was one of the very first products that I created. I ended up selling that. It was in a CD format. So I actually had two different CDs, one for PC computers and then one for Mac computers. And then once, we started to, we went in and we created, I think it was called Airsoft or something like that, where we created an online version of it. And we made it available online where, regardless of what format or what type of computer you had, you can go and you can access the software, you can download it and install it on your computer and get access to this entire suite of 101 different music contracts where you can go in, you can fill in the blanks, you could go in and write in your name, you could put in your artist name, you could put in the agreed amount terms, you could put in your date and everything else, and then you would print it out and boom, you had a contract, right? And you didn't have to go in and hire an attorney, because attorneys at that time to create music related contracts were hundreds of dollars for one contract, or even thousands of dollars, depending on the complexity of the contract. So I made that available, and I first sold it on eBay, right? Sold it on eBay for something like, I think it was like $29 I initially sold it for. And we just got sales in. I started getting sales in it. And that was one of my first experiences with online marketing, making a digital product available to just the masses online. And started selling so many at $29 that I increased the price. So I read a book by Dan Kennedy. And if you guys don't know who Dan Kennedy is, you should definitely go in, Google Dan Kennedy, go in and get his book called The Ultimate Sales Letter. It talks about just copywriting and how to craft words that persuade and that sell, right? So everyone needs to know the basics of copywriting at least. Right? Maybe I'll do a video where I talk about the basics of copywriting and the AIDA principle, right? So AIDA. But anyway, so in this book, Dan Kennedy talks about if you have a product or service and it's selling frequently with no resistance, then guess what? Your price is too low. All right? Your price is too low. So I read this and I'm like, oh my God, $29. Maybe my price is too low. That's why I'm selling so many of these things, right? And then I increased the price to $99 or $97 or something like that. This was a long time ago, right? So I barely remember the numbers. But when I increased the price, I tripled the price point. And do you think that the sales volume slowed down? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat box, in the comments box. Do you think the sales volume slowed down? Not at all. Not at all. So that was my first lesson in regards to pricing because I had this resistance, and I want you guys to. I'm starting off with this for a reason because as you start to grow your businesses, you start to build out your businesses. One of the number one things that you're going to be resistant to is pricing yourself. All right. Right after asking for the sell, like actually putting it out there and thinking that what you have is worthy enough for someone to actually pay for it. Right? Especially as you're first starting out. I don't care if it's like your first week in business, your first day in business, or your first year in business. But price resistance and actually asking for the sell is going to be one of the toughest decisions that you make. So I'm starting with that now because I want you guys to realize that, right? So when you get to that point, or if you're at that point right now, you'll say, hey, I remember Ty said that this is going to be tough for me. Pricing and understanding where I should price it and, you know, actually just asking for the sell is going to be tough for me. The biggest mistake that most people make is they look at their competitors and then they say, okay, well, I'm going to price it at the same price point that my competitors are at, or I'm going to go under where my competitors are at, right? I'm going to go under where my competitors are at. So you don't want to do that. You always want to be slightly higher than your competitors because when you do that, that's known as what? Perceived value. It's the reason why there's certain people that look at perceived value, and most people actually do look at price point as a perceived value, right? There's a reason why you have a Walmart crowd for certain things, and then you have a higher end crowd for certain things, right? You have Target, who's a little bit more higher priced. They're not drastically higher than Walmart, but they are a little bit higher than Walmart, right? So you've got people that use Walmart as their go-to, but then they don't mind shopping at Target every once in a while, right? And if you guys are not in the United States and if you don't have Target or Walmart, let me know, like, what would be the equivalent in your country where you're at? Because I know we've got people that are all over the place that are watching this, right? So Walmart being like the lower price point, one of their like USPs is the unique selling positions is always having the lower price point. So Big W says an M, right? Out in Australia. So that would be the equivalent of like a Walmart. So now what would be the equivalent of like a Target where it's, it's not really high end, but it's like a notch or two above the Walmart, right? And Rashawn says we have Walmart. Target tried to come here, but it didn't work out in Canada. All right, very cool. So and then so Nan says Myers, right? So they have Big W, which would be the Walmart in Australia, and then right above that they have the Myers, right? So you'll find this in all industries. So keep that in mind as well. So I want to jump into this, right? I want to jump into this framework and kind of teach you like what does it take to build out a multi-million-dollar business. First, I'm going to tell you what it does not take because I see a lot of people make these mistakes. What it does not take is it does not take you to be the expert in the industry, not to the degree that you think it requires you to be. Like it does not take you to be the expert. It does not take a degree. It does not take certification, right? I mean, when you're selling information products, now if you're going into something that's regulated, like the medical space, then absolutely yes, right? But if you're selling like traditional information products, how to do X, how to do Y, right? How to start a online business, how to groom your dog, or how to raise pit bulls, right? Or how to homeschool your children. Some of those things don't require certifications and degrees and things like that. For most of the niches that you guys will be going in, and I'll talk about that in just a minute as well, you will not require a degree or certification. So the first thing is do not think that you have to have this super level of education or expertise on it, right? Many people fall victim to, what do you think it is? What's the term that I'm gonna throw out there? Imposter syndrome, right? Many people fall victim to imposter syndrome way before they get started, right? Who's going to buy it for me? I don't have the credentials. Here's the big one. especially with social media. I don't have the follower. That's a big one, right? So people will stop and they'll kind of not even move forward. They'll get a little bit paralyzed because they're adding all of these components into it. I don't have the credentials. Who's going to follow me? Who's going to believe me? Who's going to pray? Who's going to, how can I justify asking for this price if I'm not an expert? Right? And that's not a requirement. All right. Lou says, I've been dealing with imposter syndrome. So here's the thing, Lou. Everyone deals with it. Everyone. How many people know Richard Branson? Who here has ever heard of Richard Branson, the billionaire over in the UK? Right? If you've ever heard of Virgin Music Stores, Virgin Airlines, Virgin Records, right? Richard Branson, I was watching an interview a couple of years back, and he even said, hey, at times I deal with imposter syndrome, even at the level that he's at, right? So you've got billionaires that deal with it, and then you have people that are just starting out. So that's very normal. A lot of this stuff, when you realize that it's normal, and that, yes, the Virgin brand, absolutely am. When you realize, like, I'm not the only one, then it makes it easier to get past it. Because what happens is we think that we're in a silo, and we think that we're the only ones that have these feelings, right? That have these emotions, that have these doubts. And when that happens, no one, right? No one has the true power to really like push through and move through. Right? So that's why it's so important to realize that you're not the only one. Right? So the biggest thing that you can do is dive right in. So you don't need the education, right? You don't need to be the expert, right? The other thing, here's a big thing, but I see a lot of people kind of get stifled with, and it keeps them from moving forward. They think that they need the best. And let's be honest here, right? Who here thinks that they need the best? And what I mean by that is, let's say if you want to be a digital content creator, right? You think you may need the best computer. You may need the best software. You may need the best phone, right? All of these things go through our head, right? Someone says, I'm in the hospital. I hope you're doing well there. We'll send you some prayers and energy there. M. Lorenzia. You do not need the best. As a matter of fact, I personally think that not having the best computer, not having the best phone, not having the best software to get started, not having the best platform, not having the best camera, whatever it is, to do the job, I think that actually will help you out. Because as you start to generate some income, and as you start to see some success from what it is that you're doing, even if it's nominal success, then that will drive you even more to start moving in a direction where you can start getting some of these things, right? And you can start rewarding yourself, right? So success should always be rewarded. That's how you get better and better and better. When you start to see steps and you start to have success, reward yourself. Because the way the mind works is the mind says, okay, I've been putting in all of this work. Where's my reward? The mind is like it's like a little puppy. It does a trick. It moves forward. It wants to be rewarded. All right. Some people, Monica says, some think that age is the barrier. Absolutely. Thank you, Monica. 100%. But Monica, let me ask you a question. Can that work in both ways? Can that work in both ways? Right? Can some say, hey, I'm too old? But can some also say, what? I'm too young? I've dealt with tens of thousands of people across the planet over the years, and I've had people who would say to me, hey, Ty, man, I'm too young. I look too young. Nobody's going to take me serious. Right? No one's going to take me serious at all. I still got the squeaky voice. And you hear it from everyone. You hear it from the teenagers. You hear it from people that are in their 20s. You hear it from people that are in their 30s that still look like they're in their 20s. Right? But then you also hear from people that are older. So I hear from people that are in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s, in their 70s. And we have a couple, as a matter of fact, we have a couple of couples that are in our community that are in their 80s and that are going. Now we have individuals that are in their 80s as well that are in our communities. But we also have a couple. We have the Rockwell. So Donna and I think his name is Richard. I know Donna Rockwell, but Richard Rock. Like they're in their 80s and they inspire the heck out of me. Not because now here they don't inspire me because they're making millions of dollars. They don't inspire me because they're world famous. They don't inspire me because they have tons of followers. They don't inspire me because they've traveled the globe. They inspire me because they're in their 80s and they haven't given up. When I see people that are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and 70s that think that it's too late. All right. So you can always look at someone else that's still moving and that's trying and say, okay, this person inspires me. All right. So now let's jump into this. How do you build out a multi-million-dollar business, a multi-million-dollar digital publishing business, digital content business, whatever you want to call it, with nothing, like starting from the bottom? All right. Starting from the bottom. So here's how you do it. The first thing is realizing that you can do it. All right. Now, the absolute first thing is looking at a market or a niche that is large enough to sustain the volume that you want to do. I'm going to say that again. So looking at a market or a niche that's large enough to sustain the volume that you want to do. How many people have ever heard like a guru say like, but there's riches in niches, or you want to start in this small niche, right? When I was first starting out in internet marketing, that's what we heard. We heard start with these smaller niches. People that are, collecting obscure things like thumbnails with flying pigs on them. And like you believe this stuff, right? Because you're like, okay, well, if I can go in and I can dominate this small niche and I'm the only person that's there, then I can make some money. Which is a little bit true, but the thing that you have to keep in mind is that it's a small niche. So now what happens? You're limited in the amount of money that you can make, right? Even if there's 100,000 people in there, you're not going to sell 100,000 people that are interested in flying thumbnails with flying pigs on them, right? So you start with large niches. Sorry about that, Nam, if I threw you off there. You want to start with large audiences, large niches. All right, large audiences and large niches. All right, so because the larger the niche, the more people you can sell. The larger the niche, the more people you can sell. All right, so I'll give you an example. Some of my niches are writers, right? There's probably millions and millions and millions and millions of writers across the planet, and we're always thinking globally because we're selling digital content, right? And I'm going to show you how you can get the digital content created. But we're always thinking globally. We're not just thinking our city, our state, our country, right? Our continent. We're thinking globally. So you always want to go after these large niches, huge niches. So some of my niches, I'll give you an example. Wedding planning, right? Because people are always planning weddings. People are always going to want to get married. Writers, as I said, real estate, people that want to invest in real estate, people that are interested in investing in real estate, right? Gardening, right? People that are interested in gardening, whether it's plants or flowers. Now, what's one thing that all of those niches have in common outside of them being huge and millions of people being interested in? What's one additional thing that I'm going to repeat them to you? So writers, gardening, real estate, wedding planning, homeschooling is another one, which is a little bit smaller. Homeschooling is one of my smaller niches. Yes, Rashawn, absolutely. They're evergreen, right? So they're also evergreen. So if you think about it, right, people have been wanting to learn how to write and hone their craft of writing for centuries, forever, right? You go back to the days of like Shakespeare and even further back, right, than that. And then you're right, they won't ever lose their audience. Real estate, people have always wanted to know more about real estate and investing in real estate, right? Again, for a long period of time. You go back to like the US itself has been around for hundreds of years. So if you think just the length of the US, and now that's not even counting like, places like the UK that have been around much longer, right? Where real estate has been popular for much longer than just the hundreds of years that the U.S. has been around. You look at gardening. People have always been interested in learning how to really get the best out of your garden, right? It's an evergreen niche. It's an evergreen audience there. You look at things like what else is there? Homeschooling. People have been interested, and with homeschooling, you'll see where it gets even more and more popular as time goes on, right? So when you're looking at your niche, keep two things in mind. You want it to be a huge audience, an audience that you can reach, that has at a minimum 1 million people that you can reach. Parenting is absolutely a very good niche, right? I'm also in the parenting space as well, right? You want a evergreen niche. So something, and the way I define, me personally, the way I look at evergreen is something that's going to be around for 10 years or more, right? Because I want to be able to create this product and sell it for at least 10 years. When I talked about the music related products that I had, and I didn't even tell you guys about some of the other products that I had that were music industry based, so like ebooks and courses, those products sold for well over 10 years, right? Because they were evergreen. The topic was evergreen, right? The topics that I covered were evergreen. So you want to make sure that you're in wide audiences, wide niches that reach at least 1 million plus. And then you want to make sure that they're evergreen. So they're going to be around for 10 plus years, right? Now, here's the many types of content that you created. I just talked about how with some of my music related products, I created ebooks, right? I also created courses. You can create video programs like this, like what I'm doing now. You could speak to it. And if you don't think that you're good enough to speak on camera, because no one thinks that they're good enough to speak on camera, just use a teleprompter. When I first started out, I used a teleprompter. I would add one to, you know what, I was supposed to go live on Instagram, right? But when you're doing this, nothing's got to be perfect. So my motto is just to go in and do it and just rock it out, right? So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go live on Instagram right now. So that's what I'm gonna do. Right. So now, if you don't think that you're good on camera, you just simply use a teleprompter. That's it. And that was my cheat sheet. Like using a teleprompter was my cheat sheet for, I want to say, at least a year. So I used the cheat sheet for at least a year, and I'm going live on Instagram as well. Right. So I used a cheat sheet for at least a teleprompter for at least, I want to say maybe about 8 months, until I got confident enough to be able to be on camera and have a couple of bullet points, right? That was the next progression of that. So it was a teleprompter where I would have everything out. And then after that, it was bullet points, right? Once I got comfortable enough to let go of the teleprompter, boom, 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 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bullet points, and then you can use those as talking points. And then after that, you get rid of the bullet points, you don't even need anything. So this is how you start to build out this multi-million-dollar digital publishing business, all right? So there's steps to this. So it's just like learning to ride a bike, right? You first start with the training wheels, and then you take the training wheels off, and now you're able to go on your own. So how do you get a teleprompter? Yes, it's an app. So if you go in to any of the app stores, whether you're on an Android or an iPhone, just type in teleprompter, and you'll see a ton of them. There's a ton of them that are out there, all right? So large niche. You want to start with a large niche, right? 1 million or more people. You want to start with an evergreen niche because you want to be able to reach as many people as possible. The more people you can reach, the more money you can make. If it's evergreen, the longer you can make money, right? We don't want to put these products together and then we're only able to sell them for a couple of months or just a year. We want to be able to sell them for years and at least a decade, all right? Examples of some of those larger niches that I'm personally in are the writing space, the make money space, right? That's a big one, okay? I think, Rashawn, that's where you're starting, right? Making money online, real estate, what else is there? Gardening, right? Homeschooling, wedding planning. So there's so many. Health is a huge one. So wealth, health, relationships, I've got products, digital products that deal with relationships, how to date and dating products and things like that. That's never going out of style, right? Think about it. There's always going to be young men and even older guys that want to learn how to date, right? So dating and relationships, those are big niches as well. And again, it's evergreen. The next thing is, listen, lay out your ideas. So when it comes to creating your content, you can create your content in any of these forms. So ebooks, digital trainings, videos, coaching, memberships, which is one of my favorites because you obtain a customer once and they pay you over and over and over again, just like having a Netflix subscription or Amazon Prime subscription, or we're watching this on YouTube and we're watching it on Instagram as well. But on YouTube, I've got YouTube TV, and it's a subscription. We pay something like $79 a month for it, and we've had it for years. So membership programs also allow you to create a lot of wealth because, again, people will come in and they will pay you month after month after month. And sometimes people will, sometimes they'll quit after 2 or 3 months. Sometimes they'll quit after the first month. But then some people will stay with you for 2, 3 years. So memberships are something that are huge. They're so huge now that I seldomly will put together a digital product or program that does not have some type of a continuity or membership component to it, right? Whether it's an upsell or whether it's baked into the front end, because memberships create a lot of wealth, right? They create a lot of wealth. All right, so does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense before I move on to the next point. So the first point was large niches, all right? I've got 7 points that I'm gonna share with you. So first was choose to create millions starting from zero. This is the framework that you'll follow. You choose a large niche, a huge audience. You want that audience to also be evergreen, right? The topics are going to be evergreen. So we're not going to go in and we're not going to go after things that are short-lived like holiday recipes, right? Because what happens is you put in this work, you get maybe an influx of sales that come in right around Christmas or Thanksgiving, and then after that, you got to wait a whole year for that to happen again. We want products that are going to sell day in and day out, right? So large niches and evergreen. The next is you're going to go in and think about the formats, right? So you can sell this in an ebook format, a Kindle book format, a video course, an audio program. I've created tons of audio programs where it's just that. It's just that. So it's either me speaking or someone else speaking. I've hired someone else to go in and speak, and that's it. It's just an audio. People go in and they download the audio, or they can play the audio right in the browser. And I'll share some platforms that you can use to store your content and sell your content from in just a minute, right? You can have coaching programs. Coaching programs are one of my favorite as well because you can charge more. You can charge a premium for coaching programs. Memberships, as I mentioned. I'm going to take a sip. So does all of this make sense to you guys? All right. Thank you, Monica. Monica says it makes sense. Monica Pinson. All right. Now, here's the thing. So once you have your idea, you have your niche, right? You have an idea as to what you want to sell. Now you start to say, okay, well, how am I going to lay this out? How am I going to get it created? Because creating the content is one of the biggest issues that a lot of people have, right? So there's a few ways that you can do this. Number one, you can go in and buy what's known as private label rights. You can go in and buy private label rights, or also known as PLR. So if you go to Google and you just type in PLR or private label rights, you'll see tons of sites that have PLR, right? And PLR is basically you being able to go in and buy the rights to resell a product that someone else has already created. Right? Yeah, absolutely, Rashawn. I've made so much money with freaking PLR. Right? That's what I was saying at the very beginning. Like, you don't even have to be the expert with some of this stuff. Do you think I'm an expert on wedding planning? Right? An expert on gardening? An expert on homeschooling kids? Right? Absolutely not. But there's products that are out there. There's people that have created quality, high quality products that you can go in and you can actually get access to. You can get resale rights to. Now, there's some garbage PLR that's out there as well, right? But there is Nanza, gardening expert. Awesome. So, but there's some really high quality PLR that comes in so many different formats, ebooks, video programs, audio programs, articles, entire courses where you have an entire collection of all of that stuff. Right? So the PLR content is a quick way to go in and get products created. All right. So now, how do you do this if you're going to create it yourself? The first is, let's say if you're the expert. Nam, I'll use you as an example, right? Rashawn just said that you're an expert in gardening. So here's how you'll do this. Let's say you want to go and put together a course on growing Japanese tomato gardens, right? Or Japanese tomatoes. The first thing you'll do is you're going to go in and you'll do a brain dump. All right, you'll go in and list out your bullet points. Let's say you got to put together a video course like this or an audio course, right? What I would do is I would put together a video course, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. You'll go do a brain dump. You'll think about everything that you know about growing high quality Japanese tomatoes. And I'm just going to freestyle this, right? I have no idea what it takes, but I'll give you an example. So you can say, okay, number one, I have to find a location. Do I want to put my garden in the front of the house? Do I want to put it in the back of the house? Right? Do I want to put it on the side of the house? Right? And your location should be dependent on sun. How much sun does it need? Is little sun going to kill this thing, or is too much sun going to kill this thing? Right? So you're starting from number one, the location, ground zero. So you put that. That'll be your bullet point. Just location. Right? So what do I choose to place my garden? Then after that, soil. Do I use the soil that's already in the location, or do I go to, hardware store or Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever you may have around and get soil? So now that I can kind of replant this thing, right? So then soil, right? And then your next bullet point is going to be seeds. Now I need seeds, right? And then the next bullet point is fertilizer, right? And you'll talk about that. And then the next bullet point is watering. And then the next bullet point might be care, and everything else that may go into starting with the most simplest things that you can think of. You don't want to overcomplicate this. This is where people make mistakes at. Starting with the most simple of things, right? So location, as I said, right? What did I say next? Soil, right? And then seeds and everything else. Because you're just creating these bullet points. And now when you get in front of a camera, and it doesn't have to be live like this, it could be you recording it. Guess what happens? You now go look at these bullet points, and if you're good enough at it, you can go in and start to elaborate off of those bullet points. You see how that works? So when I first started out, that's exactly the framework that I would use. I would go in, I'll create these bullet points. And this was after using the teleprompter. Before that, I would just go use the teleprompter. And I would literally write everything out on my teleprompter. Everything that I wanted to say. And then the teleprompter would scroll down. And what's cool about the apps is that with the apps, the teleprompter apps, you can adjust the speed. Right? So the biggest thing is going to get the speed going right, because there were times when I would have the speed going too fast and it's going faster than I could read. Then you want it to be at a natural pace. All right? So you get the teleprompter, you go in and write out everything you want to say. And that's if you're not comfortable with talking and being on camera at the same time. Right? But if you're comfortable with talking and being on camera at the same time, you just have your bullet points and you want to simplify it. Here's the thing. You want to make it understandable to an 8-year-old. Okay. Where do you find this? What is that, Karen? What are you looking for? PLR. If you go to Google and you just type in private label rights or PLR, you'll see more sites than you care to find. Right. So when you're laying out your content, you'll go in, create your bullet points, and you read off those bullet points and you elaborate. Now, here's why I said that you want to do this to video. Why do you think you want to do it to video? Why do you think you want to do it to video when you're first creating your course, right, or your program, right? Because when you're doing it to video, guess what happens? You can now go in, you can extract the audio from it. So now you got two products. You got video, so I can take this video right here and I can go in and I can use the software program and extract the audio. So now I have, if I'm putting this in a course, I got the video that people can actually watch, Then I have the audio that I can give them as well, and they can listen to it on the go, right? They can listen to it while they're cleaning the house, while they're in the car, right? So there it is. So if you're recording, right? I always recommend that you record from your phone, you record from your desktop, from your laptop, right? And then you have two different products there. And you can give someone both of those products if they come in and order. Or you could say, hey, here's the video. The video is XYZ. This is how much it costs. And as an upsell, you also have the audios, right? Now, here's the next thing that you can do. What mic should we use? Great question, right? I'll cover that in just a minute. So now here's the next thing that you could do. So now that you have 3 pieces of content, you now take the audio or the video and you go over to Fiverr or you go to Upwork and you say, I want to have someone transcribe this. All right, I want to have someone transcribe it. You can also use transcription services to do this as well. All right, so you can also use transcription services and it's super cheap to have something transcribed. All right, so now you've got 3 pieces of content. Hopefully this is making sense to you guys. You have a video, you have the audio, and then you also have the written text, right? The transcribed piece that can be turned into a PDF. And now this is your little mini course. Do you see how easy this is? When I first started selling music-related products, this is what I had maybe about 30 different products, and all of my products were set up in this way. I'm sorry, not all of them. Actually, not all of them. Most of them were audio and PDF. Just a few of them were video, audio, and PDF. Because at that time, I wasn't comfortable enough to be on camera. Right? So if you think, here's what people want, guys. People want the content. They want the solution to their problem. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be, this expert-looking setup. People want the solution to a problem. What's the solution to growing a beautiful, award-winning Japanese tomato garden? What's the solution to building out a multi-million-dollar digital content business? What's the solution to homeschooling my children? Right? People are after the solution. That's what it is. They're not after the beauty of the thing. They're not buying it because of aesthetics. They're buying it because of the solution. And the quicker that you can understand that, the quicker it'll be for you to get over all of the other stuff. I need the best computer. I need the best phone. I need the best camera. All this other stuff. I need the best platform. I need the best format. And you'll get it out there. If you saw some of my first stuff, and even if you see some of my stuff now, you probably say, wow, it's crazy. The guy's making millions of dollars, right? It looks nuts. So people are after, and you can always, here's the beauty of this. Once you start making money, guess what? Because it's digital, you can always go back and professionalize the stuff. You can make it beautiful. You can make it look more attractive afterwards. All right. So that's it. Now, someone asked a great question. What mic should we use? Let me ask you a question. How does my mic sound right now? Let me know in the comments box. How does my mic sound right now? And then I'm going to show you a mic that you can also use. So here's a mic. I'm going to disappear for a second and I'll be right back. All right, so sounds good. Sounds good to me. Guess what mic I'm using? I've got some great mics. I mean, I've got mics that cost like hundreds of dollars. And then I've got mics that cost like 30 or 40 bucks. But this is just my computer's mic right here. That's it. That's what I'm saying. Right? This is just the mic that's from my computer. Now, if I'm doing an event, sometimes you guys might see me use like a headset mic like this. This is a Sennheiser. This is a great mic right here. I actually keep like 2 or 3 of these. That's why this one is not open. But I keep like 2 or 3 of them as a backup. But if you're just recording content like this, you don't even, you can, depending on the type of computer you have, you can use your computer's mic. That's what I mean. Like, you don't need the best of the best. But this mic right here, it cost me 32 or 33 bucks. So I've got another one that's right here. It's a Steinhauser, and you can get it off of Amazon. And it's simply, let me get the spelling for you. Right, so it's simply spelled, and if someone can put this in a comment box, yeah, I'm using a computer mic, Ty. Yes, yep. So I don't even have a mic plugged into this computer. This is a MacBook, right? Yeah, I'm sorry, this is an iMac, better mind. But I also use this one, which is a MacBook Air. So if you guys ever see me doing events, or sometimes I'm on this one, right? Or if I'm doing like a training, I'm on this one. And this is an old computer. I bought this maybe. You could see where it's starting to get a little bit, like the buttons are like worn out, right? So, but I mean, the quality of cameras and mics that come on electronic equipment now is so good that it rivals some of the top selling products or some of the more professional products. So Sennheiser, if someone can type this into the chat box, it's Nennheiser. So I'll say it again, Sennheiser. If you go in, if you buy any of their mics, their headset mics, and this is a wired one. I like the wired. I don't like cordless because the quality is a lot better. Thank you, Nan. All right. But if you go in and you buy any of their headsets that are priced between $30 to $50, you'll get something that's incredible. $30 to $50, right? And then I just put these little caps on it to kind of stop the pops and things like that because I'm kind of hard on my P's and B's. But these you can get for you can get like 5 of them, I think, for like $3 or so, right? Right. So that's it. So, all right. So now, what do we leave off at? Videos, right? So bullet points. You can use a teleprompter if that makes you more comfortable. Now, how do you record your videos? How do you record your videos? Again, because we're starting with little to no money, guess what we're using to record our videos? My favorite platform to record videos. And I have Camtasia, which is a pretty expensive program, but I use this program that I'm about to share with you probably 19 out of 20 times. And I'll use Camtasia maybe 1 out of those 20 times. I use this one that I'm going to share with you because it's super easy to use. Yeah, I use my iPhone more than anything, Lou. So I use my iPhone even more than I use this program that I'm going to share with you. But the program that I'm going to share with you, you can do desktop recordings. So let's say if you want to put together a program or a course and you're using PowerPoint, you can record your desktop so it looks very clean and professional looking, or you can also do live video like this. So the program, you guys ready for this? And if a couple of you guys can type it into the chat box as well, that'll be beautiful because I want to give you guys what I actually use and low cost or free options. So I use Loom, Loom.com. It's like Zoom, but it's Loom, Loom.com. And it's available for both Mac and PC. All right, so Loom, Loom.com. All right, so if you guys can put that into the chat box, if a few of you guys can type that into the chat box, that would be perfect. All right, so now you know how to create your content. Well, let's start off at the beginning. You know what type of audience you should go and get, right? You want a larger audience, 1 million plus, right? You want an evergreen audience, okay? You know what types of content, or the many different types of content that you can create, right? Ebooks, Kindle books, digital training, courses, videos, audios, right? And then if you create a video like this, guess what? You can then go in and you can strip the audio from that video. And then you can also have the audio transcribed. So now you got a trifecta. You've got video, audio, and written content. You've got a text, right? So now you also know how you can go in and record your video for free, right? So Loom you can use for free, but there's also a paid version. Once you get past, I think, once your videos are past 5 minutes long, which leads me to my next point. All right, so if you guys have ever been into any of our programs, like the Kindle Cashflow program or some of the other programs, one of the things that you'll notice is that, yes, there is, Nam, and I'll share that with you. She just asked an amazing question. And that's why these questions are good, guys. So go ahead and ask your questions, right? So that I can cover them. So there's no such thing as a dumb question. Throw your question out there. So now, your videos. When you're creating your content, you want your videos to be short. I recommend no more than 3 to 5 minutes if you're creating videos. And why 3 to 5 minutes? And if you look at any of our programs, like the Kindle Cashflow program or the Micro Office program or the Fast Pass program or any of these programs, the videos are usually short. Sometimes they'll go long, but usually they're 3 to 5 minutes. And why is that? Well, because what I found is if you can you can segment your videos. If you're talking about a topic and you break it up into these 3 to 5 minute videos, then people are more likely to come through and consume the course and get results. That's what you want. You want people to consume your content and get results. All right? Because if they get results, then guess what happens? Now they go in and they tell everyone else that this program works, and that means that there's more sales for you. Right? And then you just want them to get results. Like that's the whole point of putting something together, putting content out there. Because you want people to get results. There's karma in that, and you get good karma back, right? And oftentimes, good karma shows itself as extra cash flow, all right? So 3 to 5 minutes, number one, because people are going to consume the content. If it's 30 minutes, when I first started, I would put out these long, my training programs would be super long, and of course, 30 minutes and 40 minutes and 50 minutes and 2 hours, and there was no break. And then people would go through it, and then they get lost. Let's say if they don't have 2 hours to sit there, they got to go pick the kids up from daycare or from school or whatever. They got to go feed the kid or do whatever. Now you come back and you're kind of lost. But if you're going to do 3 to 5 minute videos, then you can go and consume one, and then you say, okay, I'm going to start on the next one. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. Okay. So use Loom, LOOM.com. Now, Nan was asking, is there a way to measure if your niche has 1 million plus audience time? Yes, absolutely. All right. So there's a program out there. You go to Google and you type in Uber Suggest, UBER Suggest, UBER Suggest, Uber Suggest. And what you'll do is you'll go in and you'll put some of your keywords and your phrases. And if you guys want, I'll do a separate training on this because this can be a little bit more detailed. Not complicated, but detailed. You go and you put some of your search phrases in, and it'll give you the search volume. It'll show you how many people are searching every single month for some of these terms. So if you type in gardening, it'll show you, hey, there's 50,000 people or so. Uber Suggest, yes. All right. And then, yeah, so we're going to talk about that as well, Linda. So Linda says, I find the product is not the biggest concern. It's getting it to buyers. We'll talk about that as well. All right. So, yeah, so Uber Suggest will show you, okay? Best platforms to get our video courses out there. Monica, you must be a mind reader because that's what I'm going to cover next, right? The best platforms to get our video courses out there. So I personally like Kajabi. Right, I have a relationship with Russell Brunson, the founder of Kajabi, and him and I have done lots of business way before he even started ClickFunnels. Right, so I've known him for a while. He's given me a couple of free accounts on ClickFunnels, and I also have a couple of paid accounts on ClickFunnels. So I have just about as many free accounts as I have paid accounts on ClickFunnels, and I love it. I love it for so many different reasons, right? Because you can split test, you can build out funnels, you can, in funnels having like your opt-in page, your registration page, your sales page, your order page, and then your upsells, and then your thank you confirmation page after that. So I like ClickFunnels, but some of the other platforms that I use include like Teachable. And can someone put these, because we want to help people out, right? I'm giving you a lot of stuff, and I don't want anyone to get lost. So if you guys can help me, if I'm helping you, just help me by putting what I'm giving you, these platforms, into the comments box. So ClickFunnels would be one, because I want you guys to have options. All right. Teachable would be another one. So Teachable, that's another one. Kajabi is another one. All right. Now, I personally use ClickFunnels and I use Kajabi. Those are my two favorites. I have used Teachable before in the past, and it's a good platform as well. All right. But I haven't used it recently, so I can't give you too much info on it. I have partners that have used it. Linda is the other one. So, and Linda is spelled Lynda. So lynda.com. Thank you, Monica and Victor and Nam and Billy and everyone else that's been putting these in. All right. So Linda is the other one. So Teachable, Kajabi, Linda. There's another one that I used when I first started publishing online. It is, give me one sec. It's going to come to me. I still make money from this platform, as a matter of fact, but I still have content under pen names, not even my name, right? So it is, it will come to me. All right, I'll give it to you before we close this out. Right, so now you've got the platforms that you can sell your content under. All right, and again, I like ClickFunnels personally because there's so many different things that you can do to increase the volume of your sales as well as the frequency of your sales. All right, so there's a lot that you can do there. And Kajabi is also pretty decent. You know, another platform that you can use, and this is a good friend of mine, Mike Fosame, owns this one, and it's called Groove Funnels. So Groove is good as well, right? Is it more profitable to transcribe in different languages? Spanish would be the first language. So but I wouldn't worry about that until like a year after you've started to like really get sales into and for your product in English, and then go in and have it translated. All right. So I gave you the platform. So now, all right. So we're at number one, your audience, right? What audience you should have. Number two, the different types of content that you can have: ebooks, Kindle books, audios, videos, PDFs. You can combine all of these things to create courses. You can have subscription programs, membership sites, right? Coaching programs, right? And then the platforms that you can use, all right? ClickFunnels, Teachable, Linda, Kajabi. There's a bunch of them out there, all right? You don't need a site of your own. Biggest mistake that people make is trying to go in and do this on a blog, which is a nightmare, especially if you're using WordPress and if you're not technical. Even with all of the plugins, WordPress can be a nightmare. I've spent nights up till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning when I first was doing this stuff, trying to figure out WordPress with all of the plugins kind of interfering with one another and needing to be updated, and it was just a nightmare. So I would say stay away from WordPress unless you are an expert. But if you want to have a headache-free business on that side, at least stay away from WordPress. And then the next thing is whatever platform that you're using, and this is another reason why I like ClickFunnels. Whichever platform, and I also like Groove for this reason as well. Whichever platform you're using, you make sure that it is easy for you to build up a mailing list. All right? Make sure that it is easy for you to build up a subscriber list, a database. There's gold in that list. Many of you guys heard about this live event right now because you got an email from me, right? There's so much that you can do. Or maybe you got a text message from me, right? Because I use the community app as well. So if you go to community.com, right, as you're building up, but I would always make building up your email list your number one priority. Number one priority. If I had to start all over again, I would do that. Like that would be the thing. It would be, I would probably go in and build out the product, select the platform that I'm going to sell from, and immediately before I even go live, make sure that I'm able to capture those names and email addresses and telephone numbers, making telephone numbers optional, making it optional for people to enter their telephone numbers. All right. So build up your email list. So now we have that. So how do we get paid now? Like how do we start to make money off of this thing? Right? You want to start to go in, and you guys I would go in Groove Funnels to build out your sites, Karen, but you can also build out a mailing list using Groove Funnel as well. So they allow you, okay? Yep. So now get payment, right? If you don't already have an account with both of these companies, I would go in and set it up tonight because you want to have a seasoned account. And what I mean by that is an account that's been around for a while. So PayPal, right? PayPal should always be an option. And then Stripe, STRIPE.com. If you guys can put that into the chat box as well, that would be perfect. So PayPal and Stripe. So you want to make sure that you go in and you set up a PayPal business account if you can. All right. If you have an EIN number, you can go. If you don't have an EIN number, or if you're in another country outside of the U.S., whatever would be equivalent to your business social security number, which is what the EIN is. All right. So you make sure that you go in and you do that. So Stripe and PayPal. Thank you, Monica. Appreciate you. All right. Thank you, Karen, as well. All right. So go set up your Stripe account. It does not cost anything. It's totally free. Go set up your PayPal account. If you can't set up a PayPal business account, set up a PayPal personal account. And you should have both anyway. You should have a personal account and a business account, right? Because that's how you're going to go in and collect payment. And with both Groove and ClickFunnels, you can integrate both your PayPal and your Stripe account into both of those platforms. And it is super easy. It takes like 10 minutes to do so, if that, all right? 10 minutes on a bad day, all right? 10 minutes maybe after you had some drinks, all right? It's super easy. That's how easy it is. I'm having some fun, but it's really easy. All right, and then the next thing is, right, so that was number 4. Set up your PayPal and your Stripe accounts to accept payments. Number 5 is to start getting people in, right? Start getting people in as you start spreading the word until you get momentum. Now, there's 2 ways that you can do this. You can do this for free, all right, which is the slow way, using social media, using Facebook groups, right? Not spamming groups. I'm not telling you to go in and spam groups. Using message boards, using community boards. You can go in, you can start to say, hey, here's my product. Or you can look at where people are asking questions and then go say, hey, this is a good product that can help solve that issue. Let's say you have a product on, again, how to create award-winning Japanese tomato gardens, and you're in a Facebook group or you're in a community board, right? And people are asking, hey, how do I, like, my tomato gardens are like dying on me after a week. You can say, hey, here's a link to a great product, right? Now that's a slow way, but it's a free way of doing it, right? So you start spreading the word until you get momentum, all right? So you can use like social media, you can use YouTube like this, you can use Instagram, and it doesn't cost anything at all. All right. Now, if you want to really start using social media, here's the key to using social media like Instagram or YouTube. It's consistency. So every single day, going and posting a video or going live like this. It doesn't have to be an hour like this one. It could be on YouTube right now. The videos that do the best, absolute best, are videos that are less than 20 seconds. Right, on YouTube. So if you don't have a YouTube channel right now, go in and set up a YouTube channel, and everyone should be doing this right now. If you already know what your niche is, your audience is, you should go in, you should set up a YouTube channel tonight, today. And then on there, you could just go in and create what's known as YouTube Shorts. So it could be simply, hey, here's how you grow. Here's one of the top things that you need. It could be 20 seconds, right? So here's one of the top things that you need to make sure that your Japanese tomato garden is supreme. Number 1, make sure that your soil is super high grade, XYZ, whatever. You can get it from Best Buy for $6.99. Boom. That's a 20-second video, 17 seconds. And then the next video, right? Here's how you can make sure that your Japanese tomato gardens get the best sunlight. Make sure that you're positioning them a place where the sun is going to be at the 12 o'clock position, each day for at least 20 minutes. Right? And when you're creating your YouTube short videos, always in the title, at the end of your title, put #short and then #shorts. And that gives you even more visibility. All right. Let's see. How do podcasts pay? That's a whole different story right there, Linda. So you can create your own podcast and you can have commercials put in. Right. So there's platforms where you can, as you start to get your following, and if you have a podcast following, you can go in, you can have insertions, so commercial insertions. Right. So one of the podcast platforms that I like to use is Anchor, right? ANCHOR, I think it is. But it's an app. Super easy to use. Super easy. It's pushing a button and you talk. All right. Can you have a YouTube account for several nonfiction pen names? Absolutely. You certainly can. All right. I've got multiple YouTube accounts, actually. Can one use Squarespace to build an email list? Squarespace, to be honest with you, I don't know much about it. I only know that with Squarespace, it's like you can accept payment, right? So I would use PayPal and then I would use Stripe because they're both super easy. And like I said, you can integrate both of them with most of these platforms like ClickFunnels and Groove. And then Kartra is another good platform. That's the other one I was thinking about. So Kartra, 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 right? Thank you for that, Nam. Now, start spreading the word. And the free way that you can do it is social media. You can go into somebody's communities. You can go into Facebook groups, all right? You can use Instagram. You can use YouTube. You can use LinkedIn. You can use TikTok. TikTok is huge for business. I know that you guys think that it's all about dancing and funny jokes and stuff like that, dad jokes, but there's a lot of businesses that are legitimately using TikTok right now as well. Now, the paid way is you can also go in and run Facebook ads. You can run YouTube ads. You can run Google ads. And if you're starting out, I recommend that you spend no more than $5 a day, right? So $5 a day. Thank you, Karen, for that, right? Now, here's number 6. Number 6 is once you start to build up this email list, and even before that, like, don't be afraid to market. I kind of talked about this at the very beginning in relation to pricing, right? Don't be afraid to price yourself, but don't be afraid to market. Like market, send emails, make posts, right? Don't be afraid to sell. If you look at the people who make the most money, they're not afraid to sell, right? So sell. Like that's what people want. That's what they want. And then number 7 is add on and create additional products and other services as well. So once you start to build up your following, you've got one product in this industry, right? And you've got customers that are buying it, you offer them something else. And now you've got the audience, right? So you can offer them something else. And then you have another product. You guys see, I've got dozens of products, different price points, well over 100 products actually, right? In different products. And products that can give people value, products in different formats, right? Because there's going to be some people that like to watch video. There's going to be some people that like to listen to audio. There's going to be some people that like to read, right? And then there's going to be some people that want all of them. So those are your courses. There's got to be some people that are at the lower threshold, right? The lower price points. And there's going to be some people that are at the higher price points. So as you start, and now I'm not telling you to do all of this at once because I don't want you to become overwhelmed. But as you start to get momentum and you start to build that first product and you start to sell it first and that second product, then you can go and you can add more and more and more, all right? This stuff becomes very easy. This is the entire framework that I've used to start multiple businesses in different industries, right? From my very first business all the way up to my most recent businesses. It becomes, don't complicate it. The biggest thing that you're going to have to overcome is the fear, like the fear of procrastination, the fear of putting yourself out there and doing it. But if you do it, right, the rewards can be so incredibly great. There is nothing like being a business owner, nothing at all. A business owner in today's day and age where you're selling digital content, there's nothing like it at all. Nothing compares. And once you start to get a taste of it, you'll never go back. You will never go back at all. All right. So hopefully, guys, you got value out of this. I thought that I expected this to be a 20-minute video. I said to my wife, I said, you know what, I'm going to go on YouTube and just give and serve and give people some things that have helped me and that have been my path. And we ended up going for more than an hour here. So hopefully I didn't keep you guys up too late. Hopefully you've gotten a lot out of this. Do me a favor. I need you to do one favor. Comment right now, whatever platform you're watching, please go in and do me 3 favors. Number 1, comment. Number 2, like this video. All right. And number 3, subscribe or follow me if you're not already. All right. Subscribe to the channel or follow me on Instagram if you're not already. I've got a free challenge. So if you like this, there's a challenge that's coming up next week. Right. It's a free challenge. And on this challenge, I'm going to show you how I built up these multiple $million-dollar businesses, these digital content businesses, and I want all of you guys to join in. I also want you to tell your friends and your families to join as well. So you can go in. If someone can put this into the comment box, here's where you can go and you can sign up for the challenge for free. It's so tycohen.com/MOC, all lowercase. So if someone can please put this into the chat box for me, I would definitely appreciate it. So www.tycohen.com/MOC, all lowercase. So tycohen.com/MOC. And that's where you can go in, register for the challenge. We get started next week. It's 5 days, and each day will go for about an hour, about the same length as we talked here tonight. But I'm going to be able to go into so much more detail because I'm spreading all of these points that I gave you out over 5 days. So I'll be able to go into detail. And actually, I'll be sharing my screen with you as well. So I'll be showing you some of these different sites and platforms and how to go set some of this stuff up. And I'll actually show you, if you don't have a product yet, all right, MOC, all right? So it's Micro Offers Challenge. That's what MOC stands for. So if Nam, can you put that into the chat box for someone, please? So tycohen.com/MOC, right? tycohen.com/MOC, so that everyone can go in and register. So I'll be showing you everything. And by the end of day 5, I'll have you in a position where you walk away with your very own digital product. So that's my promise to you. By the end of day 5, well, actually, here, I'm going to make 3 promises to you. By the end of day 5, you'll know exactly what to sell. Because that's the biggest problem that a lot of people have. They just don't know what to sell, right? If someone can go put that URL into there, let's see, tycohen.com/MOC. If one of you guys can go type that website address into there, I would appreciate it. So at the end of day 5, here's what you're going to walk away from once you complete this challenge. You want to know exactly what to sell, because the biggest problem that a lot of people have is they just don't know like where to get started. They don't know what to sell. So I'm going to show you exactly, you'll know with clarity, with certainty, where to get started. Like what's the absolute starting point. You'll know exactly what you should sell. The other problem is that a lot of people have is they don't know who to sell to. So you'll know exactly who your audience is, who your tribe is. Just like we have people, I consider you guys to be my tribe. So you'll know how to build up a tribe of your own like this, even if you don't want to be the face of the tribe, right? I'll show you how to do it without being the face. But you'll know exactly who your tribe is, who your audience is, who your niche is, and where to find those people. So that's the biggest part, right? I think Karen had asked that, all right? Shannon Wall says she signed up already. All right, thank you. Lou Bryant says I've just signed up as well. I signed up already as well. Cool. And then the other thing that I'm going to show you is how to get your product. So by the end of day 5, you'll know what to sell. You'll know who to sell to. Well, I should say those backwards. You'll know who to sell to and what they want to buy. So you'll know what to sell. And then you'll have that product that you can actually sell to that digital product. So you'll walk away with all 3 of those on this free challenge by the end of day 5. That's what I promised you. All right, guys, that is it. I'm going to go spend some time with my wife, and hopefully you got some value out of this. I plan on doing these things at least once a week, right? Different topics. We'll do some Q&As if you guys want. I'm going to make them maybe a little bit shorter as well, so maybe they'll be about an hour. Maybe they'll be about 30 minutes to an hour, right? So once a week, we'll do these. Make sure that you are subscribed so that you get a notification when I do go live, because I don't want you to miss out on some of this stuff. There's some stuff that I'll share with only people that watch live, and we'll kind of cut it out of the recording. But make sure you go follow me if you're watching on Instagram right now. And then if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe. I'll see you. Have a good day, good morning, good night. And until the next one, stay well.